man in a trench coat in the dark. A woman's lost a kid sleeping in the park. Rag suits, daggers, Park Avenue. Everybody wants to talk to you about just some BS of there. Just some BS. Just some BS of yours. Just some BS. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS of ours.
It's a crazy, crazy world we live in, but that's just it. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference with that is, you know, if you have like the Vauxhall stabbing, I bet 20 quid that it's either the two people knew each other and it was some sort of resolution of differences, or B, it was a mugging, which you're going to get in any city. The difference with London Bridge is that was genuinely indiscriminate. Let's just stab as many people as possible. There was no purpose. There was nothing to be gained from apart from your own death. In that, there was no end reward.
No, it was
apart from, you know, perhaps 70 very sexually inexperienced people that you now have to kind of teach for the eternity. Yeah. But even that is apparently a mistranslation. But anyway,
the ideology is a bit. I don't get it.
Well, it's not even ideology. See, this is the thing, and this is where the inevitable. Have we started the podcast now?
We're about to start it. Actually, I was gonna jump right into it because we were getting into a good groove. Yeah. I told you I like to go with the, you know, let's get into a groove and let's start talking, let's get that momentum going, and then all of a sudden I just jump in the welcome back to an all new episode of the Just Some BS podcast. I am your host along this wild and crazy journey, the American Nick, joined as always by the man with a plan, the somewhat sober lad from the north, the beer doctor himself, Radovan. Beer doctor? How goes it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very special episode because I think now, finally, after years and years of educational effort, will Americans learn the difference between London Bridge and Tower Bridge.
Yeah, because, you know, it's pretty crazy is the second London Bridge is currently in Lake Havasu, Arizona. Camille and I, when we did our U.S. cross-country trip, we stopped and saw the London Bridge, and, you know, that idiot who bought it thought he was buying the Tower Bridge. Yeah. Mistakenly, all of a sudden the London Bridge shows up and he's like, what the fuck is this? I think for now people will finally be able to register, oh, it's not the big bridge with the, you know, the tower that goes up and everything else.
It's the stabby one. But in all honesty, Nick, I've never really don't listen to these things. I have better things to do with my time, so I don't quite know. I mean, is the beginning conversation going to be part of this? Or?
Yes, the beginning conversation.
Okay, so basically, can we just continue?
Yes, we can just continue down
on the thread.
Yes.
No, but the thing is, it's obviously the reaction, and I don't know if you've seen the videos from it. I don't know. The thing is, this one, oddly enough, weirdly enough, has probably left me more rattled than the other ones. Because, I mean, this is the third one in the past 2 months. First we had the Westminster one, which, frankly, was a single guy, swerved off the curb, killed people, unfortunate, was fairly promptly disposed of. But even then, even though it happened in London, and this is just a human personal reaction. Obviously, you recognise it as sad. It happened in the place you live. But frankly, I never go to Westminster. I have absolutely no reason to go to Westminster. I've been there. I've lived here 11 years. I've been there maybe 4 times. Manchester, obviously, same thing. I've been to Manchester 2 or 3 times. Okay. And I certainly wouldn't go to an Ariana Grande concert. So, but again, tragedy, etc. But you compartmentalize it in the same way you would compartmentalize the casino attack in Manila, or the bombing in Kabul, and the subsequent bombing of the funeral for the victims of the bombing of Kabul, which is, I mean,
horrific. That's the most fucked up thing you could do.
Twisted squared. Yeah, that is. And it's not quite in that category because, you know, far away. This is a bit closer to home, but you kind of get on with things. The London Bridge one, photograph after photograph. I knew where it was. I knew where those places are. I've been to those places, and you know, you've watched photographs of outside the Weech. I go there all the time. Then I see the German pictures, you know, the video of police shouting "Get down" in the bar, which was the German beer keller. Again, go there all the time.
Been there.
What was it called? The Borough and Bank or whatever it is. The one just by London.
Yeah, across that.
Yeah. Where initially where the van stopped. I was there 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. So, you know, it kind of is shit that very easily, and you know, even a friend of mine, she was just there in London Bridge 30 minutes before it happened. She jumped on the tube and went home. But she was 30 minutes earlier, and she would have sort of been. So in a way, it's a slightly different reaction, plus the sort of build-up of, you know, we've had 3 of them now. That kind of leaves one a little bit more rattled, and I think the mood is also slightly a bit more subdued in around. And as I was saying, everyone's keeping a healthy, respectful distance from the curb. But the thing is, because of the build-up now, in that video from the German beer keller, you hear police going down and saying, everyone get down, get down, get down, and people are getting down, hiding behind tables, etc. And a few seconds in, which has now been cut, it was on the BBC website before they realised what was actually said, and now they've cut the ending. But the ending is someone shouting, you Muslim, and a derogatory term, which is the reaction that's going to happen. Which I find understandable and baffling at the same time, because frankly no one in their right mind goes and murders people knowing they're going to die for frankly no reason at all. Frankly, they're doing it for someone who's hundreds and thousands of miles away in Syria, or wherever they are, wherever the ringleaders of these organizations are hiding. But it's that's not ideology. That's vulnerability, mental instability,
Weak-minded.
young as well. These are all young people, and you know, I remember being a young person. Now, of course, yeah, probably I'd be hard pressed to do something like that. But I certainly used to have slightly more extreme opinions than I do now. I don't know, it sounds wildly off the spec. Now I'm just, you know, your average homely anarcho-syndicalist. Back then I was crazy, man. But no, it's not ideology that does this. It's something more human. It's and I'm not going to say, you know, we should all hug them, because it's kind of difficult to do. But people say, what do ISIS want? And ISIS say, we want the destruction of human civilization. And people say, well, see, this is, if we treat, you know, the Muslim community kindly, they want to destroy us anyway. Because ISIS say that they want to destroy Western civilization, regardless of whether, you know, they're happy or not. It's like, yes, but what ISIS wants and why people join ISIS are 2 different things. They can say they want to destroy Western civilization. A young man from Manchester isn't going to join ISIS to destroy Western civilization. It's going to come from his own circumstances, his own view of life, his upbringing, if he came from a stable background and had future prospects and all that, what kind of incentive would there be to destroy Western civilization? How many of us, you know, I'm annoyed at the government, etc., and I'm sure we'll get into that, as we always do. But I'm not going to destroy Western civilization just because but you know, I'm reasonably comfortable. I mean, you know, obviously one would like to have a bit more security, etc., but clearly something is wrong that drives people. And again, I don't think it's ideology. You look at, easiest example, Christianity, and you have all those, you know, crusades, obviously, you have all those inquisitions, you have all that violent spreading of Christianity all across the world, which was done in a, you know, some cases in an educational manner, in some cases in a very aggressive manner.
Yeah.
You have the persecution, you know, even, you know, reformist wars, etc. There's a lot of shit that was caused in the name of Christianity. But what caused us to settle down was not the banning of Christianity. It wasn't the abolition of Christianity that has resulted in post-World War II peace in Europe, if you discount the Balkans, the Soviet invasions, etc. But it was Ukraine. It wasn't banning of Christianity. It was people just became more globalized, more interdependent on one another, and more educated about one another, and realized it's not this sort of black and white enemy. It's kind of just another bloke with another shitty government, which also sends him to fight me, and my shitty government sends me to fight them. Yeah, it's that sort of realization that calmed people down, not a shift in ideology. Christianity is pretty much all, they didn't go back and, do Old Testament v 2.0, this time with less violence and more sex, to reflect our society. It's still the Old Testament.
Well, just wait. They might be working on the reboot. They're rebooting everything now. I mean, Hollywood's just done a reboot.
I'm still waiting for Bible, the virtual reality experience.
Yeah, I know. That was what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I know. You wanted to find backing. We said we could find some Christians and hustle them.
No. That's I disagree. No. Someone who would share our firm belief and back us to create a unique experience that would allow people to experience the biblical times. Anyway, kind of steering off course, but yeah, it's this. I'm sorry, I just can't buy that it's the Muslim. Of course, are there passages in there? Yes, you'll find similar passages in the Bible in any sort of right wing or extreme left wing book.
We live in a world today where it seems that there is a disconnect between not really moral good or morality in general, but in the value of life. There is a certain sector of society, be it extreme left wing, extreme, or as it's called in America, the alt-right. There's things that happen and occur now on almost a daily basis, and it's gotten to the point where we are desensitized by it for the most part. We look at what happened in Kabul, and we both had said, I mean, it's horrific. This huge bomb, it goes off, blast kills 80 people or something along those lines. And then the day of the funeral, they bomb it again, which is okay. Even in the worst of times, in the horribleness that was the Bloods versus the Crips in LA, it was known you don't fuck with people at funerals. Let them bury their dead. And it would be the moms that would come out and go, what the fuck is your problem? Like, this is a day of mourning. You don't shoot at funerals. You don't do that. And these were people that were killing children, killing everybody else. The 80s and 90s in LA was horrific. It was a war scene. But they knew, don't fuck with funerals. Let them bury their dead. Let them do that. We'll get you tomorrow. We'll get you next week down at the corner shop. Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, things that happened in Portland last week with the guy that stabbed the two Muslims. He burst out in court talking about how, Christianity, it's time for the Christians to take back America. President Chump tweeting, this is why the travel ban needs to come in.
That's the same fucking ideology.
Exactly. It's just that's just it. President Chump and his, this is why we need the travel ban. And it's like, well, no. That shit's going on in America already. And it's going on by white people. They're not Muslims. It's not a religious problem. Like, I don't fear Islam. I don't fear Christianity. I fear crazy and stupid. Mm-hmm. And in reality, I don't really fear it, but I live in a very unique environment. I live in an environment where, for the most part, people find me to be someone that they wouldn't come up to and normally talk to and say hello to. Except for all my neighbors around here, because they think I'm fucking shitball crazy. Obviously, because I live here and I've got a big scary dog that Radovan to this day has spent more time with than anybody, and he's very, for some reason, still scared. But there's this weird, how do I put it? Somewhere along the line, through the greatness that is communication between the world, The internet's connected us in a way that we could live globally, live without borders, and connect us and everything else. Somewhere along the line, some people decided that that wasn't good enough for them, or that was the wrong way to go, or that doesn't make sense for their own personal thought process, and feel the need to murder people for no real reason. Like, you kill my dog, I will burn you alive. Hell, somebody murders Radovan, I'd probably drown him in the Thames. You know, Camilla, my mother, my brother, someone that was close to me, part of my family members, if something were to happen to them, I am vengeful. I just am.
And Nick, if someone did something to you, I'd tut. I'd tut like there was no tomorrow. I'd even harumph.
I can see that you're going, God, that bastard. Well, fuck. Now what are we going to do about that podcast? Well, I don't have to go down south anymore, so that kind of saves me on travel once every other week.
Well,
okay,
you know, I'll just...
I'm missing a drinking partner. Good thing Dave's back to drinking. Shit, I don't know what I'm going to do.
What I'd probably do is I'd scoop a few of your ashes and you know, basically move you in with Hitler. More the merrier.
It's... I don't know. It's... I guess because maybe I look at life as so short to begin with. In the grand scheme of things, we are on this rock that's flying out of control for such a minimal amount of time. A human's life is very, very short in the span of existence. I mean, human beings, the amount of time that we've been on this planet as opposed to how long this planet has been a planet is minuscule. It's nothing. It's a blink of an eye. So to think that to take someone's life because it means that much to me, I've liked a lot of things. I've loved a lot of things. I've cared about a lot of things. I've had a lot of beliefs in my life. I've never believed enough of anything to think that killing somebody would be a better option.
Yeah. I love beer.
Well,
would I murder someone for it? For a pint? It would have to be a pretty good pint. And I'm sorry, a paradise in Syria is not a good enough pint for me. But this is the thing. I understand why they do it. Look, if we take the example of ISIS, and amongst the many unforgivable things ISIS have done is they've ruined my Google search history, because there's one of my favourite Bob Dylan songs is ISIS. I could just never search ISIS live or best version of ISIS with a clear conscience ever again,
without going through like 7 different VPNs.
And from that day on, I even from the very start, I was not a fan of ISIS. I mean, fine, you know, Islamist fundamentalism is okay. Let's see how you get on with that. But this is just unforgivable.
They mess with Dylan.
Call it "I Should Be So Lucky" or "No Limits" or you know, money. I don't mind that. Just don't call it ISIS. It's a good song. It does not deserve to be associated with that particular organisation. But anyway, okay, let's take ISIS. Also, listen to the Bob Dylan song. Best version is 1975 from the Rolling Thunder Review. Anyway, come on, if you haven't, you owe it to yourself. The man won a Nobel Prize in Literature. Anyway, ISIS, they're not frankly doing that well. I mean, they're pummeled left, right, and centre essentially, and you know they're trying to do their little expansions in Philippines, and so you know, let's see how that goes. But in Syria, they're just not doing very well, and it's when the two sort of opposing sides manage to temporarily get their act together and just squash them, it's probably not going to take very long. Which is why they're turning into this desperate rather than more sort of organised crowdsourcing and crowdfunding.
Oh, kind of.
They're going for this. Frankly, it's a sign. People say it's a sign of desperation. It is a sign of desperation by all accounts, because what they're trying to do, from their perspective, it works, and from their perspective, it works most because people say, oh, you know, if you're fighting your thing, but why do you attack children, as in the Manchester thing, or why do you, why do you target innocent people out carousing on a Saturday night at London Bridge? Valid point. But that's precisely what they want, because they want that resulting hatred.
Mm-hmm.
They want that division, them and us, because that then drives people to them. You are, you're already not in a great state, you live in a not great accommodation, sharing it with your larger family, you have very little prospect of getting, you probably face some discrimination, taking jobs, education, etc. So your prospects are not too bright already. And if that then turns, if also you add the added pressure of the community turning against you and people mistreating you just because you look the way you look, of course it's going to drive you. As a young person, if you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, it's going to drive you towards a radical solution, and you're going to turn to these people because hey, they have the publicity. And this is precisely why we can't let ourselves, and I know that I'm speaking to an audience of millions, but I mean, as a group, the most dangerous thing that we can do right now is to sort of start creating this division. Because, particularly in Britain's case, these are not foreign-born people.
No.
They were born here. They're UK citizens. They are Britons. If we start turning against one another, it's just not going to end well for anybody.
The bad thing is, these type of people are the ones that thrive on chaos. And it's not an anarchist chaos. Look, I'm a firm believer that, yes, the way the U.S. government is right now, and I don't just mean President Trump, I mean Congress as a whole, it's failed. It doesn't work. It doesn't function. So yeah, burn it to the ground, start over. I'm a firm believer in it. I think it's something that needs to happen. Because it's an outdated, archaic system that doesn't work. It doesn't function how it's supposed to. But the way that they're putting this whole thing together, it's lone wolves, it's this, it's that, but it's to cause chaos. It's to cause people to walk down the sidewalk and leave a meter of space. It's it's for people to constantly be looking over their shoulders and wondering what's going to happen, or when they get on the tube or the DRL or the train, be eyeballing people. I'm fortunate for the next 2 weeks or so, I can walk to and from my office. If that's what I want. I do it in the mornings because it's a nice walk, and if the weather's fine, I usually take the tube on the way home, and I get on the tube and I grab a hold of my Kindle and I start playing some stupid game that I have that's on the Kindle. My headphones are on and I tune out the world and I don't pay attention to anything. If somebody were to do something, I'm not paying attention to it, that's fine. If somebody were to do something with a knife, I'm probably, because of how I was raised and because of, I think, the way that I was brought up in the fight or flight mode, I'm automatically fight, just because instinctually that's how my father taught me and my brother to be. Something happens, run towards the danger rather than run from it. And the reasoning why is because if you stop it, you have a better chance of survival. That was just the way that our dad kind of taught us. Shit goes down, run towards it. My mom, on the other hand, has told me numerous times since I moved here 6 odd years ago, if something goes, go the other way. And I'm thinking, but that would go against nature. That would go against who I am. So I just feel like there's a time now where people just need to realize that it's a crazy, crazy, crazy fucked up world. It just is. But if we continue to push each other away and continue to isolate ourselves and continue to make chaos and mistrust and unforgiving and those kind of things, all we're doing is making it worse. I don't want to sound like a kumbaya kind of let's all come together, but really this is the time that we just need to be like, come together. Case in point, I'm a somewhat Caucasian male. I live in a predominantly black neighborhood. There was a barbecue last weekend right downstairs. And Radovan knows, the JSBS studio south is on a very busy street. And they had a large DJ with large speakers right downstairs just to the right of my door that pushed the music out into the street. There was roughly 150 people right there in the middle of the street from about 9 p.m. until about 2 o'clock in the morning. We shut down the street. I took Lily out at 9 o'clock. Guy goes, "Yo, Nick, come down, dog? I got chicken for you." Okay, I'll come down for some chicken. So, walk Lily up and everything else. I go back downstairs. There's 150 odd people. And basically, as cars would come down, it was like car, and people would split, the car would go by, and then people would come back together. And the music's rocking, and the cops are just like, man, we go around it, do whatever they want to. Block party. But it was togetherness. You had people... I was the only white person, whether it was male or female. I'm the only white person that lives around here, except for my upstairs neighbors, and they don't ever go out. I don't think. I never see them.
Probably leaving a helicopter from the roof.
I have no idea how they get out of here. I've seen them one time. But it was just odd because it was a very... It reminded me of like a Sunday barbecue, because that's what it was. And everybody just coming together, having fun. And you could tell there was beef between some people, because you had little cliques that were standing over here and little cliques that were standing over there, and they didn't really want to come together. But as soon as that food come off the barbecue, oh motherfucker, everybody's in line, getting the food, hanging out, bullshitting, talking, having fun, smoking a little weed, whatever they were doing. It did. It smelled like, the whole block smelled like weed after this. But that's just it. There has to be more of that coming together. I took Lily to the park yesterday at Clapham Commons. And in Britain, it's sunny, which is very odd. I know. Are you okay with it? Because you don't like the sun.
I escaped to Scotland.
Oh, that's right. You went north, so you got away from the sun.
Yeah, Scotland was nice and rainy.
So it's been sunny, but it was kind of surreal, because normally when you're at the park, you have all these little people set up, and they're just not talking and not kind of mixing, and you had that group of girls that were there, and there was like 14 of them, and then you get the hippies that are coming by with letting their dogs run around and do everything else, and the girls are like, ah. But instead, it was a weird environment, because it was... People were actually talking, and I could see it. They were talking from group to group to group, and it was different groups, just people bullshitting and kind of coming together, and it was like this kind of, it's spring and summer's finally here, and you could feel that coming together. And I'm just hoping that the incidents of last night, instead of turning off that coming together, bring it even closer to where everybody's kind of like, yeah, fuck it, it is what it is. We all live here. We all gotta survive. So, I don't know. I'm interested to see what Monday brings, because it should be... I think with the general election,
Thursday.
4 days away. I think it would be interesting to see how this week goes after what occurred last night. As we like to do each and every week, let's get to the lighter side of things. Let's get away from the death and the hatred and the extremism. Let's go to our favorite thing. Our Lord and Savior, our dictator extraordinaire, our greatest tweeter there's ever been in the world of Twitter,
Kim Jong-un.
Donald J. Trump.
I have to say, when I first read the headline, Donald Trump pulls out of Paris, I thought he was having an affair with Paris Hilton.
I could not believe, since we last recorded, the G7 summit took place. G8 summit? G7. And he... So you know when you go to a party?
No.
You've been to like gatherings. You know how there's that one guy that always figures out a way to alienate himself from everybody by the stupid shit that he says or does.
Yeah, I know just the guy you speak of.
I don't think he could have alienated himself further from every single other person as far as world leader. He offends Merkel. he takes on Macron, and Macron basically has just been like, well, go fuck yourself. Like, for the first time ever, I'm looking at a French leader going, I kind of like this guy. Like, I'm really starting to get behind him. Pissed off Trudeau, pushed the Prime Minister of Montenegro out of the way while they were walking up because he had to be in front of line for everybody to see his fucking fake fake hair ass.
No, in all fairness, I mean, yeah, I might just skip Montenegro when we do our countries of the week thing. Screw you.
Then he comes back and he decides that he knows best, and he knows that America does not need to be a part of the Paris Accord. There's currently 197 countries that support the Paris Accord, and there's currently 3 that don't.
And it's what a company.
Do you know the 3? Okay.
Well, the US.
Yep.
Nicaragua.
Yep.
And in all fairness, a country that is at the forefront of political thought around the world, Syria.
Do you think in the history of America, 240 odd years, there has ever been a time that Americans thought that they wanted to be in the same space as Nicaragua, who, I mean, let's be honest, we'll get to it eventually in that weekly thing, and holy shit, we may need to just do the whole episode about that.
By the time we reach Nicaragua, it might be flooded, so...
Well, thanks to the Paris Accord. And Syria, a country that...
is not really a country at this point.
The definition of clusterfuck.
I mean, I don't think when they didn't join the Paris Agreement, it's not that there was a lack of will. It was just
nobody called him.
There was a lack of country to go to Paris.
It was like this when everybody was sitting around. They're like, "Hey," they got to us and they said, "What about Syria?" Oh, that's not a real country.
I mean, speaking of S's, this is how bad Syria is. Somalia signed the Paris Agreement. Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
That's.
Mm-hmm.
The only, apart from Syria, the only grouping of people more dysfunctional than Somalia is my family. That's about it. Syria, my family, Somalia.
And it goes in that order.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know, but, my parents are doing their jolly best to, catch Syria.
They're working on it.
Yeah.
It's a long... So, of course, he does that, and it causes the entire world to be dumbfounded. And he continues to say, let's make America great again. And
apart from Theresa May, who was slightly disappointed. So he still has a friend in her.
And that's, I think, it... Look, economically, the pound, it continues to drop as Theresa May's numbers continue... Well, not Theresa May's, but the Conservative numbers continue to go down. The pound continues to drop because of uncertainty. But I do believe that part of the reason why the Conservatives are taking such a hit is the fact that Theresa May is still friends with Donald. And I think that a large percentage of the UK population is looking at that going, that's not the ideology, that's not the friend that we want.
The other thing is also, and this is quite surprising, because I thought, once the first sort of reaction after the Manchester bombing happened, the first reaction is, you think about that, etc. The next day, you just thought, right, there's an election coming up. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Normally, when you have something like that, people flock to the incumbent.
Yep.
Hasn't happened.
No.
In fact, they've lost more votes. Why that? And that's interesting. And it is down to the fact that I'll be interested to see what happens now, because she came out very strongly this morning.
Mm-hmm.
But because there is that 20,000 cut in police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the whole we're making arm deals with Saudi Arabia, and as people seem to suggest, those who should probably know about this sort of thing, Saudi Arabia is the biggest state sponsor of terrorist groups, and
they are responsible for 9/11.
There is a report into terrorism funding commissioned by the UK government, which was due to be published this month, which is not going to be published because it breaks election purdah rules supposedly, but also supposedly this report suggests links strongly Saudi Arabia to where a lot of these groups get their money from.
Mm-hmm.
And these associations between our current government and Mr. Trump and Saudi Arabia, they it's like, when you have that childhood photograph standing next to H.H. Holmes, or it's when you're playing
H.H. Seriously?
Or when you're playing the snap from the swimming pool with Pol Pot and that sort of thing. There's just some associations you look back at and go, well, that was a bit embarrassing.
Oh, when you hired John Wayne Gacy to be the clown at your kid's party? Yeah. So there's those, and these associations with friends. I think when Theresa May grows up, she becomes a real.
I think she's quite young. It's just there's only so much makeup you can put to hide pure evil. No, I'm kidding there. As I've always said, I believe Theresa May believes that what she's doing is the right thing to do, which is possibly what makes it even worse. But when years from now, when she has retired to the Death Star, and she's sort of playing Angry Birds on the Imperial throne, she'll all of a sudden a message, like one of those Facebook, remember when sort of thing pops up, and she looks at her photograph with the Saudis and with Donald J. Trump, and she'll kind of just get a slightly cold sweat and go, sheesh, what was I thinking back then? It's that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But still, 43% of the British public apparently think that's all right.
Yes. Well, there's no. President Chump's week continued to, or 2 weeks continued to spiral. So, we got time.
No, I'm just thinking it's kind of.
Oh, no, because
Okay.
I make it bigger.
You make it bigger.
I make it bigger. I do actually edit. So.
All right.
Yeah, no, this actually is not a really good representation. I put it into Adobe Audition, and so I can actually see what the sound waves are.
Right.
I'm professional.
Okay.
Somewhat.
As long as we're bigger, because that doesn't look good on either.
No, it's okay. Again, so he pulls out the Paris Accord, like any true good Catholic would. The pull-out method.
Well, the best way to avoid the best way is prevention. Let's just prevent the environment from happening.
Exactly, you just got to prevent it.
Burn the thing. Again, another Catholic methodology.
Exactly, burn it to the ground. Memorial Day, he went through and he went on a tirade thanking the troops, which was good. Like, he thanked the troops, and then halfway through he sent out some nonsense, crooked Hillary now blames everybody but herself, refuses to say she was a terrible candidate, hits Facebook and even Dems and DNC. Okay. The only reason why anybody's talking about that is because he continues to bring it up. I don't think anybody cares. Okay, he won. Cool. Dude, you don't have to continue to bring it up. My biggest concern is we must stop being politically correct and get down to the business of security of our people. If we don't get smart, it will only get worse. Strong statement. Good statement. Problem is, the attacks that are currently happening in the U.S. are happening because of the alt-right. Those are the people that are killing people at random. So start at home. Fine. Fix what you broke. You broke this. You built this. You need to fix it. Figure it out. 1 hour ago, as we're recording, do you notice we're not having a gun debate right now? That's because they used knives in a truck.
Mate, if they had guns,
homie,
we're not talking about the 7 dead.
You don't even seem to fathom it. My biggest thing when the attack took place on Westminster was I was glad that it wasn't America.
Yeah.
I was happy it wasn't America. Because had it been America, holy fuck, hundreds upon hundreds of people would have been killed. It could have been horrific. Last night, it could have been horrific. It's a good thing they don't have guns. Yeah. Reason why that shit doesn't happen down here at the JSBS Studio South? Because you can find guns down here. And people know that. And people don't want to bring that shit around here because, well, bullets are expensive. And they're hard to come by in this country. So they're only used for the right things. Meaning people know that they're going to get shot. They bring that shit into the neighborhood. It's the only thing I live by. That's my sense of security, is knowing that this is the place where the shit's not going to go. But he continues to politicize it. He continues to have to make it about his agenda, his...
Do you know what you have when you add... Because these were 3 perpetrators.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what you get when you add guns into this equation? Bataclan.
Yeah.
Because that was also 3 or 4 perpetrators, but they had guns.
Uh-huh.
And that was what, 122
yes.
dead? This was 7. That's what happens when you bring guns into that debate.
Exactly. You don't... the fact that you're like, oh, I just don't see... Guns have nothing to do with it. It's a culture that's different. There aren't guns here, so we don't have to worry about that. We don't think about that. We don't worry about that. That's not a concern. So just stop with it. Even through all this nonsense, his, $100 million sale to the Saudis, which he spent his entire campaign talking about how Hillary Clinton was in the Saudis' back pocket, and the first thing he does is curtsy like a little bitch. He didn't even bow. Obama, okay, he bowed, he took the little gold chain thing, did whatever else. I watched it, I saw it, that's fine. I didn't agree with it. I don't think we should be friends with Saudi. But he curtsied. He curtsied like he was... It was the most unmasculine thing you could do. It's just... It's a constant struggle, I think, because I made something the other day. I want your opinion, because I know you don't look at Twitter or Facebook, so...
Oh, you made something. You put it on... Etsy?
No, I tweeted it out, but I'd love to get your opinion because I made it. I'll be sure to put it in the show notes. I'm a big fan of the Merriam-Webster's Twitter, and when the Covey typo that was supposed to be coverage came out, the tweet from them was so fantastic because I want to be their social media manager. I really, really want to, because it was... They're just... they're so on the ball as far as how they respond to specific things that our savior and our... so 4 days ago, right after, wakes up, checks Twitter, lookups for, regrets Twitter, regrets checking Twitter, goes back to bed. I never, ever, when Twitter first came about, there was no way I would think, I'm going to follow a dictionary and be entertained every single day. And every day they figure out a way to amaze me even more. It is really one of the most fascinating Twitter accounts. So if you don't follow them, it's at Merriam-Webster. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Even if it's just because you need a daily laugh, It's perfect for a daily laugh. Do you have any happy news?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's hear some happy news.
I have happy news.
Okay.
See? No, I have happy news because there was a gentleman in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada.
Okay.
Inspired, clearly, by the film Up, who tied 100 helium balloons to his lawn chair and flew up high up into the Calgary sky, going into the flight path of several commercial aircraft and a passenger 747
Please tell me he lived.
over Calgary.
Did he live?
He not only lived, he landed and went to court for it.
For why?
To quote this gentleman, I have the greatest story to tell for the rest of my life, when asked outside his sentencing hearing if it was worth it.
That's a hold my beer moment.
I understood the risks, but if you do anything, you're going to get into trouble. If you don't do anything, you won't be in trouble, but you won't get anywhere either. That's not how it works, Daniel. That's not how it works.
Oh, Daniel.
But the judge, when sentencing, said the stunt was unconscionably stupid. There was nothing fantastic, fun, or exhilarating about it. Well, I'm sorry, Judge Bruce Fraser. That was it. It was all of those.
It was the definition of all
I
of
mean,
those.
you go back to your lawn and, you know, shout at children with your sort of air gun. I guess in Canada you don't have a shotgun, but that was fun. Stupid, yes. I mean, it can be stupid, but it was also fantastic fun and exhilarating and dumb and dangerous. But yeah. It is unknown what height he achieved, but there is an estimate of some 14,000 feet.
For fuck's sake.
I hope he was.
Without a parachute or anything, that's just like...
He was fined $5,000.
I just wonder how big his balls were to be able to get up 14,000 feet, because you probably needed about 10 of those balloons just to lift his goddamn balls. Because that was... Wow.
He later said, I really do apologize for wasting everybody's time. Boria, who was a guy who couldn't stop smiling when being interviewed, said he isn't embarrassed. It's pretty hard to take it seriously when you guys are asking me these questions based on me flying a lawn chair lifted by helium balloons. So yeah, I have a happy story.
Oh, wow, that guy is awesome. I want to be his friend. I wonder if he has a Twitter account, because I really want to be his friend. Oh, that was good. I searched long and hard this week for the person, and I wanted to find somebody who maybe you've never heard of or thought to even hear of. This is somebody who every single day you should thank him. Every single day, in some way, shape, or form, you're connected because of him. He brings all of us together. He is who we need right now. Person I'm talking about is
Jeremy Corbyn.
Gideon Sundback.
Almost.
Born April 24th, 1880, he was a Swedish-American electrical engineer. His actual name, Otto Fredrik Gideon Sundback, was born on a Sunnarp farm, and I have no idea how to say it, parish, and I don't know how to say it, county.
in Ödesdugu parish in Jönköping County in Småland, Sweden.
There we go. He was the son of Jonas Otto Magnusson Sundbach, a prosperous farmer, and his wife Kristina Carolina Klosdada. After his studies in Sweden, Sundbach moved to Germany, where he studied at the Polytechnic School in Bayern-Rhein. In 1903, Sundbach took his engineer exam, and in 1905 he emigrated to the United States. And in 1905, he started working at Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company in Pittsburgh, which is one of the most well-known. I mean, Westinghouse is in the States. If you think washers and dryers, if you think refrigerators, you think anything that's home-related, he is that's where it comes from. It's Westinghouse. That's like the name.
Right.
In 1906, Sundbach was hired to work for the Universal Fastener Company in Hoboken, New Jersey. Subsequently, in 1909, he was promoted to the position of head designer at Universal Fasteners.
It's exciting.
Sundbach made several advances in the developments of the zipper. Between 1906 and 1914, while working with the companies, he later evolved into talent. He built upon the previous work of other engineers such as Elias Howe, Max Wolf, and Whitlam Ludson. He is responsible for improving the Judson C. Curti fastener. In 1904, he devised a version of the interlocking teeth, the hookless number 2, which has the modern metal zipper in all of its essentials. In this fastener, each tooth is punched and have a dimple at the bottom or a nib or conical projection on its top. The nib atop, one tooth engages with the matching tip. We all know how zippers do it. I was trying, I had the...
Okay, when does he start murdering people?
That's just it.
I
was thinking about it and I went, well, we've dealt with enough murder since you and I last spoke. We had already said, well, we've got something to talk about because of the Manchester thing. And then, lo and behold, the night before we record, the London thing happened. So I had somebody that was horrific. And I went, you're like, oh, I'll be there between this time and this time. I was like, okay. And I got home and went, okay, scratch that. I need to find somebody new. And I just went, what is the one thing? And I have a pair of shorts that the zipper wasn't working on. And I wore them when I went to go take Lily for the walk. And the zipper's down. And I looked down and my fly was down. And I was like, wait, who made the zipper the zipper? And so I was inspired and
So, I mean, ladies, gentlemen, if you ever had your phallus devasculated as it is stuck in between the openings of your trousers, and if you pull up, it hurts. If you pull down, it hurts. And you just spend the rest of your life. You just buy a bigger pair of trousers to put it on top of.
To wear over that?
Yeah, exactly. This is why I'm on my 5th layer of trousers. Gideon Sundbach is the person to thank.
In 2006, Sundbach was honored by the inclusion in the National Inventors Hall of Fame for his work on the development of the zipper. No. On April 24th, 2012, the 132nd anniversary of Sundbach's birth, Google changed the Google logo on its homepage to a Google Doodle of the zipper, which, when opened, revealed the results of the search for the Gideon Sundbach. This week, we go and we found somebody who, for all intents and purposes, did exactly what we need everyone to do.
What, invent the zipper?
Bring us all together.
Aww.
You see how I tie it all in and bring it full circle? Bring it together and it holds it in place. We don't need one of those zippers that constantly, comes undone. We need a strong zipper that holds all of us united as one.
Zipper for PM.
I'd
say we'll bring Gideon back to life, stick some electrodes, make him dance a little bit and run for Poland.
Well, he might win at this point. I'm not sure.
I mean, he could run instead of the Conservative MP who was charged for electoral fraud in 2015. So
yeah. It's. Did you happen to watch any of the debate or catch any of the debate?
Oh yes. See, the thing is, I thought we were going to record a completely different episode until yesterday happened. So I read all of the party manifestos. I watched the debate. I was ready to unleash an hour and a half long rant. Unfortunately,
life happened.
But yes, I watched the debate, and I watched the glee of the British public. How keen, screw housing, NHS, nah, let's nuke people. And what I found most interesting is that Corbyn, North Korea is threatening us. Would you press the nuke now that they're threatening us? I just kept sort of sitting there thinking, shouldn't this be a question you ask the Prime Minister? Why hasn't she nuked North Korea if it's a threat, if it's such a massive threat? But honestly, I don't really think it is, because, I'll be concerned if North Korea managed to launch a missile that can leave the territory of North Korea. But anyway.
I am still, I believe that the Wile E. Coyote of North Korea is still there. I'm not believing that they can figure it out. Now, you brought up something having to do with the debate, which was the NHS, and something very interesting happened a couple days ago in my home state of California. We've discussed at length that healthcare is not a business, it's not a for-profit, and it shouldn't be run as such. And shockingly, California Democrats just passed a single-payer healthcare for California. Now, it still needs to go to the California Senate and then be approved by Governor Jerry Brown. But in the days of the U.S. capitalism, my mother being literally for the first time upset with Trump because he's actually going after Medicare and Medicaid, and her insurance is going to be going up, and her anger towards I just call it the Trump effect now, because we're starting to really see what the Trump effect really is as far as with voters. Trump promised jobs, and then the jobs report came out, and it was not good at all. The last jobs report, and he hasn't mentioned it. Last month when the jobs report came out, and it was somewhat strong, he mentioned it. He bolstered about it. He tweeted about it. This time the jobs report came back, and I'm waiting for him to say fake news. I was literally following him on Twitter, waiting for him to say, oh, it's fake news. That's not real. The jobs are fine. But no, the jobs aren't fine. They're not there. And the Trump effect is starting to take place, whereas now the backlash from people going, okay, he's 6 months in. When is he going to do any of the things that he said he was going to do? And yes, California is very liberal, and California is very, it's hippie, and it's this and that, and all the other nonsense that the rest of America, say, they're going to make it sanctuary cities in California, and California don't. Do you know what the 5th largest economy in the world is?
Syria?
California.
Almost. Warm.
Do you know how California and France trade off spaces between 4th, 5th, 5th, 6th kind of thing, depending on how Google does or, how Amazon does and that kind of thing? The world does revolve. The U.S. economy revolves around how California does things.
Not bad for hippies.
Yeah, not bad for a bunch of... But that's just it. The rest of the United States just goes, nothing. California's just a bunch of surfers and hippies and all. No. The economic growth of the nation is set there. It's great to see that state, my home state, has said, you know what? Healthcare it's a right. It's not a freebie. It's not an entitlement. It's not anything else that the right continues to say it is. It's just a part of life. You shouldn't fear going to the doctor. You shouldn't. And you can't put a budget on it. And you can't say, well, we can only spend this much money. Well, guess what? It's going to cost more. And it's going to continue to cost more and continue to cost more and continue to cost more. But that's just part of fucking life. Deal with it. So I applaud the Democrats in California who are looking to move forward and take steps along what should make for a more realistic approach to healthcare in the U.S. I can just hope that other states see that the value and understand the necessity of this, and it picks up steam and moves across. Because otherwise, you're going to get an influx of people rushing to California because, not for the free healthcare, as they say it, but because healthcare, it should be, you pay taxes, they take it out of your taxes, and you get healthcare. It's not a business. It's a part of life. So.
No, concur. So, I mean, I have to admit, I'm very much a passing interest in U.S. politics. Should President
Chump?
Donald, yes, that one.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump. Should he pass his healthcare reform at some point in some way? Would that affect, infringe upon states? This sort of decision.
When it comes down to it, states have the right to control how their money is spent statewide. Right. In places like Nevada, you don't pay a state sales, like state income tax. You don't. The casinos cover it. But it's also, my father was in the hospital in Nevada. He was there for, 10, 12 days, plus he had extended care outside of the hospital. My initial reaction was, okay, thank God he's alive, and then holy fuck, I am bankrupt forever, because this is going to cost hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, that was my initial response. And, speaking to my brother and I are the ones responsible for it. That's just the way it works. And I remember having the conversation with the hospital and just asking them, how much is this going to cost me? And the woman giggled. And I went, oh, fuck. And all I could think is, well, I guess I'm going to the casino and I'm putting it all in black and roulette. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? And she goes, it's covered. I said, I'm sorry? She goes, it's all taken care of. I was like, does he have a benefactor I don't know about? Where the fuck is this person, and how come they haven't given me some of this money?
His name, Donald Trump.
I was like, did he save somebody's life there? Like, really important? Like, what happened here? She goes, no, we take care of it. The state provides insurance for those that can't provide for themselves. And the family, it's not their responsibility. We take care of the person. And I went, wow, how come more states are like this? Like,
casinos for everyone.
But it really did help out, because now I see that places like California are starting to look to see what's happening in other countries, not just other states, and going, hey, we should do things like this. There's been multiple states in the United States that said, you know what? Yeah, President Chump has pulled out of the Paris Accord, but we're going to continue on with those guidelines. So when Trudeau has to say and distinguish between the President of the United States and the United States, when he says the U.S. federal government has decided to pull out of it, he is making a distinction between the U.S. population and the President. And he's doing so as a troll job or a kick in the pants or whatever it may be, but he's letting him know that he knows that a large percentage of the U.S. population knows what science is and knows it's real. The Weather Channel, I think, had the greatest thing, that when pulled out of the Paris Accord, every single story underneath it was backed up scientific proof. There's 8 stories underneath the Donald Trump pulls out of the Paris Accord thing saying why global warming is real. I went, oh, okay, Weather Channel, I like where you're going there. Like, but it's going to be that constant. it's unfortunate, but now we're living in a society that Trump has created that's forcing people to learn, which in a way I think is good. Because it's forcing people to know, okay, he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Holy fuck, I can't believe 60 million people voted for him and he actually won. Because that means there's 60 million people out there who are not educated enough to know that this guy's a fucking moron. But there's 400 million odd people that live in 415 million or something like that, people that live in the U.S. There's only 60 million people that are that fucked up. So it's the job of the 300 other plus million people to make up for all their mistakes. And they're doing it. So I applaud California for making that grand gesture to do something that needed to be done. Yeah. So where in the world are we going this week, Master Radovan? Uh-oh. He's taking a deep breath.
This week we are visiting the continent of murder, of death, of extinction. A place that grows stronger with each species that perishes. Can you guess which one?
They grow stronger with every species. Okay, wait. Let's see. The largest percentage of places where species are going extinct would be the Amazon rainforest. It's not South America?
We almost went to South America.
Oh.
See, if in the alphabetic list, actually, we almost borderline. And I'm sure there'll be a few disgruntled listeners who've probably tuned in for this. Mm-hmm. But I'll just say it now, Aruba is not a country. It may claim it is. Aruba is an autonomous territory. Fine, it's in control of its own local issues. But its foreign policy is set by the Netherlands. It's part of the Kingdom of Netherlands. I'm sorry, I know we'll receive lots of hate mail for this. Aruba is not a country. If you want a podcast that visits the local news of Aruba, tune into the just some autonomous territory bullshit. Because we ain't doing that shit here. We're only dealing with real countries.
Okay, so we were in Armenia as we last spoke. I want to say Azerbaijan, but it wouldn't.
No,
it can't be.
Wasn't much love to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, we've done Argentina. I have no idea. I'm perplexed. I make it a point to not look at that list so that I can be.
Yeah, alphabet is hard.
No, because I want to
be surprised.
Well, and I want to be engrossed in the pure chicanery.
Okay, I'll give you a more detailed history.
Okay.
It's a place that had a very unique fauna and flora. Still has very unique fauna and flora. Mm-hmm. 40,000 years ago, first group of folk came.
Okay.
And over a period of a few years, a large percentage of that fauna and flora was dead. The bits that remained kind of got used to the new residents, and the things plodded on. Thought still reason. Look, if you have £100 billion and you lose £60 billion, you still have £40 billion. You'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Plodded on. Dutch matey came. Few thousand years later, saw it and went, this doesn't look very healthy. I'm sodding off. English matey came, thought, yeah, this is rather unpleasant. What else is unpleasant? Criminals. Why don't we make the match in heaven and send those here? See how they get on. Which they did. Which also decimated a significant percentage of the fauna and flora, and also the local residents. But it grew
60 odd million?
No, not quite. It was about 1 million at that point. I mean,
okay.
The place today has about 45 million people, if I am correct. Oh, sorry, no. Population is 25 million. So
and it was roughly, but back then that 1 million that were, oh God, what's the word I'm thinking of? Starts with a G. It's right on the end of my tongue. Not gum. God, what it would be? Oh yeah, that's right. It was a genocide.
As any good Turk will tell you, there's lots of bananas growing in this land, and they all, because it was windy, fell. So there was lots of banana peels on the floor, and the local residents just can't walk straight. And you know, one thing, it's a funny story actually. One thing led to another, and whoop, they're gone. So yeah, but seemingly okay. So another big chunk of your 40 billion is probably left with about 1 now.
Yeah.
Fauna and flora, and also the local population is gone, and yet they're now the wealthiest in terms of the median wealth per person. They're the wealthiest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in. Of all the people around the world who own stuff, they have most of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an average person there, you're better off than the average person anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes Syria
Mm-hmm.
and North Korea.
But here's the problem. Every single thing in that country can kill you.
Yeah. This is how it grows stronger. You just...
The country itself is just fighting against you.
Yeah.
Do we want to clue them in if they don't already know?
Obviously, we're talking about the Vatican. Now, it is Australia we're doing this week.
Yes.
Whenever Australia reaches an equilibrium where the things that wanted to kill one another have killed one another, and it sort of says, all right, let's keep it steady, God sends a new group of people
To get killed.
just to think, not on my watch. Australia is God's reality show. Where it gets boring, boom, special guest appearance by the Aborigines. Aborigines get a bit too dark. Fuck's sake, been watching this for 40,000 years. Oh, British prisoners, and I bet God must have been, and I'm sure God must have been really pleased with herself when she thought of the combination of Aborigines, killer koalas, alligators, very beautiful oceans, and British prisoners.
Let's not forget, it's one of the only places on this planet that actually rains spiders. Deadly spiders. There's been storms that have taken place in Australia where the spiders were literally sucked up into the air during the storm and rained down deadly spiders upon inhabited areas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of umbrellas. I hate them. I think it's the most pointless invention. I'd rather get wet than struggle and fight with this thing that even the slightest breeze turns the other way around. But add deadly spiders into the equation, I might go out in that umbrella. I mean, one of those sort of little girl umbrellas that, you know, that have the dome so you can put your head in it. I'd have one of those.
It's just, I remember years and years ago watching on Discovery Channel, and I think the name of the show was Everything Can Kill You. And they went through, and some guy just went on Walkabout and said why it is every single thing about Australia is just fighting against you. If you think about the population center for Australia, there's just a few people here, and then a huge open area of fucking nothingness. Because you don't go there. Because it will murder you.
It's one of the most urbanized large countries, if not the most urbanized large country in the world.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, so when we last left, the British had finally arrived with the miscreants, the kind of ones that were causing a bit of ruckus.
Yes, and because we've already had a fairly depressing episode, let's not talk about the forced child abductions and relocations and the effect of ghettoization and the borderline concentration camps. Let's just say they've worked it out eventually after about 150 years, and now they're all wealthy, and now they're all very laid back. So laid back that you know what the shortest border in Australia is? Between two counties.
No.
It's between Tasmania and the state of Victoria. Now, if you look at the map, this little dot there is Tasmania. Now, Tasmania is an island where the devil comes from. You'd think that if you're drawing a border, internal borders in Australia, you'd look at that island and considering there's a few other provinces, you'd think that you do draw lines across the main one, straight lines as they do with the US. I mean, frankly, who cares? No one lives there anyway. And the island would be pretty self-explanatory. Nah, for whatever reason, they drew the line, south line as well, to sort of demarcate seas, etc. They didn't realise that line cut through a northern edge of Tasmania and effectively sort of there's a little bit of northern Tasmania that's part of the Victoria state rather than Tasmania, which seems to be, a fairly easy mistake to rectify with a piece of, eraser rubber.
Guys, fucked up a bit. Give me a second. I'll fix it.
Yeah. Nah. They already opened the Fosters because they were so proud of, drawing a straight line. And it's been like that ever since. Other than that, yeah, they're doing fairly well.
Anything crazy going on news-wise?
Well, this is the thing. London kind of ruined the whole thing.
True.
That is basically dominating London. The London Bridge is dominating all the Australian news, and could it happen in Australia? The answer is probably not. And then you have their own. Nigel Farage, Donald Trump type person called Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson is an Australian senator. She is the founder and federal president. That's the title.
Okay.
Federal president of the party she's founded.
Okay.
The party she's founded is called Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. It's not One Nation Party, it's Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. Not even Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, or Donald Trump went that further step to call it, Donald Trump's Republicans. She called her name is in the name of the party. This is how...
We've hit a new level of narcissism.
Yeah. So it kind of gets worse than that. So the Metropolitan Police in London issued a warning for people who are caught up, because the problem with the London Bridge thing, it happened, but it kept on going.
Yeah.
They rammed the van, got out of the van, and started running around stabbing people, and no one was quite sure how many of them there were, etc. So the police issued, look, people who are currently facing this is what you do. And it was run, hide and tell.
Yeah.
You see something happening, you run away, you hide, and only once you're safe
then call 999.
Do you call 999 and let the police know what's happening to you. She took this warning and I'm not going to give her the credit of Photoshop. It's probably GIMP or MS Paint. MS Painted it to create a propaganda piece that concludes with "Stop Islamic immigration before Australia hits 5% like England." Two things.
Yeah.
This did not go down very well.
Oh, I would imagine that it wouldn't have at all.
Second thing, Lord, I'm glad you enjoy Australia, and thank you for leaving us with sort of Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, and the sort of scraps. Thank God there's nothing. Yeah, she's an elected politician.
I mean, Nigel's going to be questioned pretty soon by the FBI, which should be interesting. Yeah. His run is coming to a swift end. We can't even get into what's going on with the right wing.
Yeah, so that was that. Apart from that, it's essentially it's like reading a reflection of what's happening there. Chinese are buying everything in £31 billion worth of property investment, which if you compare to all the other nations, this is how much new property is bought by China. We're looking at a graph. Basically, it's a bar chart with
China's about this big, US is about this big, Singapore's right here, UAE is about right here, Canada's about right here, Hong Kong's right here.
Yeah. China buys a lot of property, which is since 2009, in 8 years, because of this investment, has increased house prices in Sydney by 100%.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so which is quite a lot. Other than that, Australia currently holds the world record for being without recession, 103 quarters so far, but it might be coming to an end because of lack of economic growth. Apart from that, it's mostly China.
Yeah, I mean, China just kind of...
It's China and London. That seems to be the
extent of the news.
Extent of the news in Australia.
Look, we've made a few jokes, we've told a few stories, we've done all this and all that, and you know the repercussions of last night will continue to resonate with individuals globally, especially here locally. Radovan mentioned amount of times that he's been to places right around the London Bridge. I too have spent an obscene amount of time around the London Bridge, whether it's just going to pubs. There's that Starbucks that's literally right before the bridge.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone comes to visit, doesn't matter who it is. When it was with Camilla, her friend Anna had come. We went to that Starbucks right before the bridge, then crossed the bridge, and we went over by the eye and did all that. We went to the pub on numerous occasions that's right on the other side of the bridge. Decent beer sometimes, shit beer other times. It's just kind of hit and miss. Spent a lot of time around that area. But I don't believe it's going to change the way that I live my life, similar to what happened at Westminster, similar to what happened in Manchester. But the message needs to be, we do need to all come together. It's about time that we look at the petty differences that we continue to, whether it's religious or ethnic or cultural or whatever other differences, gender related, all that nonsense that continues to, for some reason, you would think that by this time that as a species, us humans would have figured it out, that we're all made of carbon, because we're all carbon-based life forms, and that's really all that matters. We're all carbon-based life forms. We're all on this planet together. We all need to take care of it because, well, Mother Nature will eventually get pissed and she'll just get rid of all of us because God just does that. She's a very mean-spirited, angry bitch. And she's really looking forward to whatever creation she comes up with after us because, well, this failed experiment hasn't been the most exciting one. Look, just come together. Be nice. Smile at somebody. Be observant and everything else, but don't be that point where you're going to start spewing hate about religion or about race or about ideology or any of that other shit. There's no point for it. There's no reasoning to live that kind of lifestyle.
Firstly and secondly, the temptation is there, of course, but we've been down that path time and time and time again. History is littered with examples of where people let hatred take over And as counterintuitive it is, as against one immediate emotional reaction it just never works out.
No.
And yeah, I mean, can't really ignore what's happening. Can't really ignore the fact that life does go on. We have an election on Thursday, and quite possibly of all the countries I've been, second place in terms of quite possibly the most key election you will have, because you have very distinct options. I personally don't think that sticking to a more authoritarian approach and generally a status quo on everything else is the way to go. I do believe that there is a genuine alternative being offered, and I'm not going to say that the alternative is going to solve everything. Probably not. Whoever fulfills all of their promises?
No one.
All I'm going to say is that the alternative, the red alternative, if they fulfill 10% of that manifesto, I'll be more happy than if the other side fulfills 100% of theirs, because the past 7 years, even before that, even in the Blair years, it's just not working out. And I don't think the answer to those things is to create more of a state bureaucracy through an authoritarian surveillance regime. We have the most advanced surveillance regime in the world. Just had 3 terrorist attacks in the past 2 months. You don't find the needle in the haystack by adding more hay.
No.
The answer to our NHS crisis is not to privatise it. I've been in Scotland this year to see a friend who's an NHS doctor who moved from London to Scotland after the new Jeremy Hunt contract came in force last year, because he said, I'm not working under those conditions. And it was quite interesting to chat about how the Scottish NHS is different from the English NHS, and how English NHS is already sort of the leaps and bounds they've made in terms of privatisation and creating internal markets, etc. We talked about California getting single payer. The answer is not going the other way. We have a precedent. It exists. It doesn't work. The answer for education isn't making it more inaccessible, isn't more division. The answer for education is getting more people on board, particularly now, in the time where we're going to see more automation. People say, rises in minimum wage are going to, force employers to lay off workers and seek automation. That's bad. Both parties promise rises in minimum wage to pretty much the same extent. It's 9 something for the Conservatives, 10 for Labour. Yes, will the layoff of workers be sad? Absolutely. But it's not the answer to that isn't burying your head in the sand and pushing it off and off. You have to at some point face the inevitable, and we have to face the inevitable that those layoffs will happen sooner or later. And we have to look at an automated society, and we have to prepare our society to live in there. The answer to that isn't restricting education, isn't restricting flexibility of the population, and it isn't unduly rewarding people who, not through work ethic, but through access and luck and work ethic, have managed to secure jobs. And we've also are in that privilege. But it's not. You can't reward work when there is no work, because there's the few people who have work who are unduly rewarded and the rest are left behind, and then that breeds hatred, that breeds jealousy, that breeds greed, and that then leads
instability.
Instability.
To riot. To worse than we have it now. Bezos, Cuban, Satya, the dude that founded Google, Satya Patak. Is it Satya Patak? One of the Google founders. I can't remember his name right now, and it's pissing me off. It's like, it's right there, but I can't think of it. They spoke at a symposium for college graduates just a month ago. And one of the questions from the college graduates, he was engineer, coding degree. And Cuban kind of looked at Bezos. They looked at the guy from Google, and they just went, your degree is going to be automated in about a year.
Yeah, people going, go for STEM. Those are the first things that will be automated.
And dude, get a philosophy degree, get an English degree,
arts
force
degree.
yourself to get something to where you have to think, because AI won't do that. AI is never going to be able to do that.
But the point is, not everyone can always be creative, and regardless of how bulletproof you think your job is, it probably isn't. We have to prepare ourselves as a society to live in a very new reality, and I think what we have the choice of on Thursday is bury your head in the sand and pretend nothing is happening and things will be great, or, and yes, there is a tinge of populism in there, but having, as we talked about earlier, in anticipation of a very different episode, I've read all 5 party manifestos.
Including UKIP's? Because I read through that as well. God Lord.
Conservatives, Labour, Greens, UKIP, and Liberal Democrats. The proper version. Not the easy read. I didn't cheat this time. And I was going to go more into that, but it is. It's not pie in the sky magic money tree nonsense.
No.
It's also not the endless path of prosperity that is Brexit. Both are delusional. It's a serious proposal and a dramatic proposal. It's not just empty words, like, frankly, some of the other manifestos are. Is it optimistic in its calculations?
Should be.
Possibly. And I reiterate, if they fund even 50% of what they're promising, 10%, I'll be glad. There is a real opportunity here to face the future, and if people want Britain to be a global leader, that's the way to do it. Through sanity, through progressive thinking, through equality of opportunities, through, fine, call me cliched, through togetherness. And that's personally what I'd encourage people to do on Thursday, not in an excessive way. Do you know who the Guinness World Book of Records record holder is for the most fraudulent election?
No.
I'll end on this note.
Oh gosh.
Elections, perhaps now this one, I don't always vote. They're not always, anyway, but this one is important. So to end on a lighter note, the world record holder for the most fraudulent election, according to the Guinness World Book of Records, is Charles D.B. King, former president of Liberia, who in 1927 won the election. His opponent had 9,000 votes. Mr. King had 234,000 votes.
Okay, well,
so it's 234,000
to
9,000.
Okay, so it was a landslide.
It was an absolute landslide. Do you know how many registered voters there were in Liberia?
But how popular was this leader? Was he like Mandela? Was he like just a charismatic, just somebody that you went, you know what? He is the man.
I mean, he was corrupt. I'll give you that. I mean, he was corrupt.
Okay, so let's get back to it. There was 9,000 for the opposition.
Yeah.
234,000 for him.
Yeah.
How many registered voters?
So out of a voting pool of 15,000.
Fake news.
So popular, some people voted not even 10 times.
Fucking
almost 20 times. Everyone voted almost 20 times. Just to,
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Oh. Well, thank you, Charles D.B. King, former king, prime minister, dictator of Liberia.
Not to be confused with his grandson Ben E. King, composer of Stand By Me.
Yes. So again, Thursday, it's an important day for those in the UK as far as voting goes. Again, condolences to anyone who was affected by last night's horrific attacks. Knowing Britain as well as I do now for living here for roughly 6 years, I have that odd feeling that the Britain threat level, Twitter will jump back up again. Threat level, replacement bus, threat level, tube, something on the rail, i.e. bags on the rail, so it stopped the tube, bus on divergent, all the British terror levels, out of tea, no milk, off license, closed early, damn Sainsbury and their Sunday Times.
Jaipur's run out.
Yes, those monumental things, but in true fashion, we do want to say, come together. Now is not a time. It's cliche and it's everything else, but there's a reason why it's cliche. Is because for generations upon generations upon generations upon generations, we haven't done it that way. We haven't. We continue to separate. We continue to push each other away. We continue to do those things that we shouldn't be doing because they don't work. And the obvious fact that they don't work is it hasn't fucking worked.
And the thing is, sometimes when you're given a choice of realism, and a choice that's, say, mediocre, and a choice that's great, one is tempted to think, oh, that's just wishful thinking. Well, bloody hell, if the hippies of California can do it,
anybody can.
Then perhaps it is time to say, you know what, actually, maybe that world can exist. Let's give it a go.
What's the worst possible outcome? We're just as fucked as we are now. We can't get more fucked.
Yeah. In all fairness, if North Korea does send nuclear weapons in the UK, sending those nuclear weapons back at them does not going to make you any less annihilated.
Yeah, we're all gonna die anyways, and duck and cover's not gonna work. Like, that's that whole point. Look, now is the time to say, finally, we tried it one way. Since the beginning of time, man has always distinguished itself in cliques and groups and everything else, and we've tried it. And empires have risen, empires have fallen, people have lived, people have died. It's been a horrible situation. And there's never been a time where everybody just went, and I don't mean a utopian, we're all going to get along, we're going to have disagreements because we're human beings, but I mean we're going to come together. And we're on the cusp of a momentous opportunity as a global society, just to say, you know what, yeah, we have tried it that way, and fuck, it doesn't work. So let's just try something different.
Yes, and our friends in the United States, they tried to go one way,
and it failed, but they made the effort.
It's only 6 months, but let's see how it goes.
Look, they tried, they made the effort. We all learned that sometimes when you try something different, it doesn't work out, which is fine.
So let's not repeat the same mistake, but let's try to do it differently in a different way.
And let's try to, France, I know I already talked about Macron, but they did do exactly that. They went away from the populace. They went away from Le Monde and everything else, and they said, here's this dude that he literally started up his own party 18 months ago, and said, you know what, fuck it, we're going to try on him. Because you want to know why? We've been trying that way, and it doesn't work. So let's just fuck it. Let's see what he does. Let's try it. So, everybody, that's roughly, I don't know, hour and 35 minutes or so of your life. You'll never get back. This is where you say goodbye, au revoir, arrivederci, la lasagna. Anything?
Bye.
A man in a trench coat in the dark. A woman's lost a kid sleeping in the park. Rag suits, daggers, Park Avenue. Everybody wants to talk to you about just some BS of theirs. Just some BS. Just some BS of yours. Just some BS. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS of ours.